Hey, what is going on, everybody? I'm your host, JamesVaughn007, and you're tuning in to JamesVaughn007TV Sports Talk. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Season 1, Episode 9. I'm excited to be here tonight. March Madness, one hell of a weekend. Thursday through Sunday, one hell of a weekend. Wow, it's been some ride, I'll tell you that. Rehearsing everything that happened this weekend. Of course, we all know Thursday and Friday, Virginia lost to Furman, and of course, Arizona lost to Princeton. So that's interesting, right? So I'm shocked, of course. I hope all of you that did a bracket, I really sincerely hope that you're doing well in your bracket. Probably not. Basically, the people that win these tournaments, pretty much they don't know nothing about college basketball, or they must be a fan of the schools, should I say, that won, if that makes sense. They might, or excuse me, not won, but attended the school, or they just like the school. Excuse me. So pretty much, hey, you got to give your congratulations to, again, 13 seed Furman. You got to give your credit to, or your hats off to 16 seeded Fair Dickerson for doing their thing. It's been crazy. It's been really crazy. Definitely, it's been that type of a tournament. Give credit, of course, to Princeton, the 15 seed Princeton Tigers. It's just been interesting all the way around. But if you look at the 16 seed Fair Dickerson, what you got to give them credit is you got to remember they had to play the playing game. So the 16 seed playing game, they had to play Texas Southern, and so just keep that in mind that that they had to go through that playing round game, and and then they went on to play Purdue. Give the coach credit for Fair Dickerson. He pretty much believed that they were going to, beat the number one seeded team in Purdue. He pretty much said that he studied the film. He knew a lot of Purdue's weaknesses and stuff like that. So it was very apparent that Fair Dickerson was going to win that game. And when I go back and look at that game, honestly, I just look at the players' eyes and their demeanor and their body language. And one thing I can say about Purdue, they just didn't have that body language. You know what I mean? They just didn't have the eye to tiger look. And so that's what I mean by that. So with that being said, you could just see that, they weren't locked in like they normally would be. I don't think it had anything to do with them not hitting their shots. It was just so much that, the guards from Fair Dickerson, they were pretty darn fast. And one thing that I did say about Purdue, if they were going to make a deep run and make it to the Final Four, one of the things I said is that their guard play has to be on point. I was never worried about their center, Eaton. I was never worried about him, first off, because he had a good game. But the problem is he also had to defend, and pretty much the big for Fair Dickerson, should I say, he took him outside. And anytime you take your big man outside, that big man starts to pass the ball through screens and cuts down the lane. That's going to leave guards to pretty much have an easier chance to score points rather than the center being back there covering the rim to make the shot more difficult. That's my point. So with that being said, you have to give Fair Dickerson a lot of credit there. Really, you do. And going back to the Furman Virginia game, come on, that to me that was ridiculous. I don't care what people say. Oh, Virginia won the national championship. It was a fluke. Excuse me. All this stuff. That's a bunch of bull. They lost. Listen, when they lost to that 16, excuse me, when they lost to that 16 seed UMBC, remember they didn't have their best player. Should they have still beaten Virginia, or excuse me, should Virginia still have beaten UMBC? Well, absolutely, but it didn't happen. So it showed that they missed DeAndre Hunter. What happened the next year? They lost some seniors on that team who were crying. What happened when DeAndre Hunter came back? They won the national championship. That wasn't no fluke. I don't care what nobody say. Please comment. I want you to comment if you disagree with me. Put it on the content. Hit that thumbs up button. You know what I'm saying? Hit that subscribe button. You know what I'm saying? But let me know how you feel about that, because I want to know. Let me know. But I will say that this upset by Fair Dickerson upsetting this number one seeded Purdue team, to me, that was the ultimate upset of all time. Because remember, Virginia didn't have their best player, and I'm not making excuses. I'm not throwing an asterisk on UMBC. You got to give those young kids credit. They came to play. They won. But you got to remember, this game was close from beginning to end, and Fair Dickerson was dominating this game. Dominating, especially from the guards all the way, to their bigs. So just face facts. They were the better team. Now if they would have played them 10 times, I'm pretty sure Purdue probably would have won 9 of those 10 times. But one of the problems that I say that I don't like with these current players, is that they're not consistent in terms of locking in whatever the scouting report is from the coach, they're not listening. Obviously, they're not listening. So that's why their play match the way they perform on the court. They're not listening to the coach. At least I don't think so. I mean, some of these teams, I don't know. But we'll get more into that. But I look at Princeton, Arizona, and they came out as a donut. I mean, they came out flat. They disappointed me because I really had them going far in the tournament. And I'm not mad for my sake with my bracket, but I'm just saying I thought they would get further than that. But I should have known. Every time you get a good team that wins the conference tournament, they look good. I don't know if it's the excitement or if it's the pressure or not, but they looked horrible. They did. They looked horrible. So they lost. Arizona lost to Princeton, 15 seed. I know Pete Carell is in heaven right now celebrating. Never would have thought Princeton would be in the Sweet 16. So, again, and remember, Pete Carell back in 1996, his Princeton team beat UCLA. So, just want to say that. I'm just strolling down. Iona. I mean, I thought Iona was going to beat Connecticut, but they didn't. So give them credit. Another upset I felt was Penn State beating Texas A&M because I thought Texas A&M was going to make a big run in the tournament, and they didn't. Texas A&M, I thought they were going to play Texas in the second round. That didn't happen. If you look at Pitt beating Iowa State, that's a big upset. No disrespect to Jeff Capel. No disrespect to him. He's a great coach for Pitt. Got the best out of him. But Iowa State, they just can't score. I mean, it's they've been playing inconsistent all season long, but I was surprised because when they beat Baylor, I said, okay, maybe I'm on to something. So I thought Iowa State was going to be one of these dangerous 5 seeds, and it turned out Pittsburgh made people believe in them. If you look at now, if you go to Saturday and Sunday, okay, we had another team, another number 1 seed team that actually lost, and that was Kansas. Kansas, I mean, they lost to Arkansas. What I said before about being complacent, being consistent, and being inconsistent. This is what I'm saying. Them losing, believe it or not, comment on my content on this. It wasn't the assistant head coach for Kansas Jayhawks. I mean, it wasn't his fault. Bill Self wasn't there. I understand that. But it's the players. The players played, they had the lead, but they got too complacent. They stopped being focused. And that's what happens when you stop being focused. You just tend to let leads go and give that team confidence. And I'm not disrespecting Bill Musselman and the Arkansas Razorbacks because they got a good team, So I'm not worried about their record. But Kansas was the better team, and they just blew the game. And give Arkansas credit. So they advanced to the Sweet 16. I was surprised that Duke lost to Tennessee because I originally felt that – because remember, guard play is what wins you the national championship, but you do need that big man. That one big man that you're going to have, he's going to need to have maybe a stellar night, more than what's expected. Let's say if the center from Duke averages 15 points a game, he may have to score 20 points in 2 out of those 6 games getting to the national championship game. But they had 2 point guards starting, and I thought it was enough. I thought they had a chance to make a deep run too. But Tennessee's physicality and I'm not making excuses, but the referees let them play. They didn't call any fouls against Tennessee. They were being very aggressive. You saw a couple hard fouls going against the Duke players and stuff like that. Second half, I felt the referees want to tighten it up, but it was already too late. Tennessee already had the momentum. No disrespect to Rick Barnes. No, he's one hell of a coach at Tennessee. So I'm not going to discredit that, but I'm saying, the referees need to be a little bit more consistent. And remember, I'm not a Duke fan, but I was the one that not backed them up, but agreed that they shouldn't be a 5 seed, especially if they won the ACC conference tournament. But they won it. They were still a 5 seed. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, see, this is why they're a 5 seed. This is why they're a 5 seed. This is exactly why. And again, this is late Monday night. So I'm getting it in. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting it in. But I wanted to wait till this first round was over with and then do my show so that way y'all understand where I'm coming from. But I'm very excited. We're going to get the NBA on the next episode, hopefully talk a little baseball, a little NFL. But right now it's all NCAA March Madness. You know what I'm saying? So kicking it live. But like I said, Tennessee was a better team. They were physical, and that's what happened. I didn't think they would make it because they didn't have a point guard. Same thing with Connecticut. They didn't have they didn't have like a true point guard basically. But anyway, Tennessee won, and now they're in the Sweet 16. They're going to play Florida Atlantic Gulf Coast. So it's going to be interesting. Florida Atlantic, they beat Fair Dickerson, in the second round. So Fair Dickerson, getting back to Fair Dickerson and Furman by those two teams upsetting the top seeds, that was their national championship games because neither team advanced to the Sweet 16, all but Princeton, and give Princeton credit. But, hey, they played Missouri. Missouri, in my opinion, isn't that good. No disrespect to that program. They got a good program. It's going to get better probably, but, they weren't ready. They weren't ready to advance. And Princeton showed that. They're not a fluke. So I believe they're the only team left that's a Cinderella team. Hold on. No, I take that back. Florida. Well, to me, Florida Atlantic isn't a Cinderella because they're a 9 seed. Now, and then remember, they didn't beat Purdue. But now if they beat Purdue, you can kind of consider them a Cinderella because nobody had them going this far. So I look at everything here. So basically, and then, of course, Sunday, Michigan State beating Marquette. Of course, that's an upset, but then it's not because Michigan State have Tom Izzo, the head coach. He don't have those dominant teams anymore, but what he does have is heart and character, and he puts that into them players, and that's why he's very successful in March. This March, he's very successful. He has, the 7th-seeded Michigan State Spartans who upset the 2nd seed Marquette. So they're in the Sweet 16, and they're going to play Kansas State. Probably one of the most underrated teams that have been under the radar in the NCAA tournament. Nobody pretty much talked about Kansas State because, Kentucky, they beat Kentucky. I'm not going to lie. I thought Kentucky was going to, at least make it to the Sweet 16. But hey, I was wrong. They're just not as good as they used to be, just face the facts. So, of course, we have those two teams playing. And then, of course, Northwestern, They gave UCLA a scare, but UCLA prevailed 68-63. They're in the Sweet 16. They're going to play Gonzaga. Gonzaga also had a scare by TCU. They were up by 7 points, 11 points, and then of course TCU made a run within a couple minutes. So anyhow, Gonzaga won. So it's all good. It's going to be a West Coast affair. 2 versus 3. UCLA is going to play Gonzaga. I believe that's going to be a thriller in Manila game. That's going to be a great game, is what I'm trying to say. Thriller in the Manila, thriller in Manila. So like I said, we got some good Sweet 16 matchups. Kansas State's going to play Michigan State. Gonzaga's going to play UCLA. And, of course, UConn is going to play St. Mary's. Now, again, I thought Iona, led by Rick Pitino, the 13th-seeded Iona squad, I thought they were going to beat Connecticut because they don't have, a pure true point guard. But they got the job done. They won. St. Mary's, they defeated VCU. I had VCU beating St. Mary's as well. And that didn't go according to plan. And actually, I take that back. So Connecticut did beat St. Mary's, and now Connecticut is going to play, instead of Kansas, they're going to play Arkansas. So I'm not going to say that Connecticut is a Cinderella. I'm not going to say that. No, they're a good team. Danny Hurley. I've been a fan of his since Seton Hall when he played point guard at Seton Hall. If y'all don't know too much about Danny Hurley basketball career, he played at Seton Hall. P.J. Colosimo was a coach. He went up against his brother, the great Bobby Hurley, who now coaches Arizona State. They played in the Sweet 16 in Philadelphia. Okay? We all know Bobby Hurley was a point guard at Duke, but Danny Hurley was a point guard at Seton Hall. And they went against each other. Unfortunately, Duke won. Of course, we all know what happened the next week. They played Kentucky. The Christian Laettner pass, the Grant Hill pass, Christian Laettner shot, fadeaway scores, go on to win 2 national championships. But again, we'll talk about the past and the past teams later. But definitely, so now Arkansas and Connecticut is going to play. And then if we go up to the other brackets, so Texas survived Penn State, but Penn State beat Texas A&M. Like I say, that's an upset. But anyhow, Texas is going to play Xavier. Another team that's been under the radar. Sean Miller, got to give him credit. He coached at Xavier, left there, went to Arizona. Things didn't go right. A lot of controversy. He went back to Xavier, and now look, they're a 3 seed, and they have a chance to get to Elite 8. So 3 plays a 2. Texas and Xavier. Xavier was too much for Pitt. So that was the second round game when Xavier beat Pitt 84-73. Of course, Miami and Indiana, that wasn't even a contest. I knew Miami was going to beat, Indiana. But anyhow, they beat Indiana 85-69. So now they're going to play Houston, of course. And, of course, we know Houston, they kind of had a tough time with Auburn, but second half they came out to play. I love Sasser's game. He came out. He was, he looked healthy. He had well over 22 points. So Houston looked good. So they moved on. They only gave up, hold on. So anyhow, Houston beat Auburn. They pulled away. So they won that contest, and now they're going to play Miami in the Sweet 16. And then, of course, so that was the Midwest. This is South. So now we got Alabama. They're going to play San Diego State. That was an entertaining game versus Maryland, but, of course, they pulled away and stuff like that. So that was entertaining. Then, of course, San Diego State beat Furman. And as I said before, Furman had no business even beating Virginia. That was just that was a boneheaded pass. From the guard from Virginia, that was a boneheaded pass. They could have won that game. And I know a lot of people blame Tony Bennett. Let's talk about that. It's not his fault. That goes back to the kids. Yeah, the coach is held accountable, but it's the kid fault. Tony Bennett is not going to tell somebody to throw a hook pass. That doesn't make sense. And once when that player got the ball, I don't have his name in front of me, but I knew he was going to hit the shot. I knew it. That's what that's what one shining moment is about. Besides winning a national championship, just seeing all of the freak plays that happens where a team comes from behind, pulls the upset, things like that. So I just wanted to get that out there. It's not Tony Bennett's fault. It's not a fluke that they won a national championship. And I already talked about that already. So anyhow, Alabama's going to play San Diego State. The key to this game, if San Diego State can score, their defense is great. If they can't score, they're going to get blown out. Alabama can defend. Their defense might not be as good as San Diego State's, but they can defend. And if Miller gets going for Alabama, hey, watch out. But it will be interesting if San Diego State can keep that game close. Then, of course, we have Creighton, another team under the radar. They're going to play Princeton, actually. They beat Baylor. I had Creighton making it to the Sweet 16. So now they're going to play Princeton because Princeton beat Missouri in the second round, 78-63, of course. And Creighton beat Baylor 85-76. But it's going to come down to guard play. Plain and simple. So, again, got the round of 16, Sweet 16 going. But what I was going to say was these players don't play like the players in the 90s. So let's just say teams. Like these teams now, let's say like a Virginia, a Duke team in 92 would have never made that mistake like that. If you look at Kansas, UNLV would have never gave up a lead like that. You know what I'm saying? Being up by 5, 6, or 7, they wouldn't have gave up a lead like that, not to no mediocre team. And we've seen that before. I'm saying the UNLV undefeated team. So when I say that, Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, Greg Anthony, Anderson Hunt, they wouldn't allow that to happen. So this is what I'm saying. Players are just too inconsistent and they get too complacent. They get too relaxed. So I don't know what it is. They get overconfident or if it's just, under the pressure. But those guys back in the 90s, I mean, like I said, of course you had your two infused upsets, but those teams never won a national championship either. I'm saying the teams that have won national championships. Now let's talk about Rick Pitino. Now he got offered the job at St. John's. He left Iona today, or should I say earlier in the morning. He left, and now he's going to join the Big East. St. John Red Storm. So congratulations to Rick Pitino. He's back in the Big East. Last time he was there was when he led Providence back in 1987 to the Final Four. I'm excited for St. John's. They haven't won any NCAA tournament games ever since 2000. It's just a shame that they've went through all these coaches. I know they fired recently Mike Anderson for not living up to high expectation, whatever. They had Chris Mullins. They had even, Steve Lavin, who coached a lot of good games. Coached a lot of big, great games. Good coach, but he couldn't get it done. So hopefully, but I believe Rick Pitino will get it done because I love his style of play. And let's not forget, after Providence, went to the NBA, went to the New York Knicks. He was an assistant under Hubie Brown, then ended up becoming a coach. Anyhow, he led the Kentucky Wildcats to a national championship back in 1996. Speaking of that, that's an example I want to make. He had probably one of the greatest teams of all time. Those players were locked in. I seen that team play season all the way until national championship. They had 2 losses. They lost to UMass at the beginning. That was a wake-up call. They went undefeated through the SEC. They didn't lose any more games in the regular season until they got to the conference championship. They lost to Mississippi State. They lost by 20. The ultimate goal was to win the national championship and not the SEC championship. They went on to win the NCAA tournament. They were in close games like versus Syracuse. Syracuse had the lead in that game. And, of course, Kentucky championship caliber team, championship pedigree coach. They ended up knocking off Syracuse to win the national championship. What's up, John Wallace? He was on that Syracuse team. Otis Hill, what's going on? Donovan McNabb actually was on that Syracuse team, believe it or not. I believe he was a red shirt, but he was on that team. The great quarterback who played for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington, then Redskins, now Washington Commanders now. He was on that championship team. And I remember he had kind of like a fade with dreads, I believe. Remember he was on that team. Go look. Comment. Come on. Comment on my thing. Comment on my content. Comment on my thing, my page. Comment on there. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe. Come on, trying to get to that 1,000 so I can start having these contests. But, hey, come on now. Y'all being lazy. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you, viewers. I appreciate it. But I want to give a thumbs up to everybody on Twitter showing me love yesterday, last night. course, Instagram showing me love. You know what I'm saying? Well, my videos and stuff like that. All I said was pretty much on Twitter was the fact that I really hope that UCLA Bruins Gonzaga game 2-3 West Coast affair. I really hope that that's a thriller. I believe it is going to be a good game. I do, but I hope it is anyway. You know what I'm saying? But just going back to Kentucky and Rick Pitino, come on. You know, he won a national championship. They only lost 2 games that year. Like I said, lost to UMass, and then they lost to Mississippi State. Go back to Duke back in 92. I mean, I'm not a Duke fan, but they lost to North Carolina, and then they lost to Wake Forest. Both of those games are on the road. Okay? Look at UNLV. When they won the national championship, they lost 5 games, but those were against top 20, top 25 teams, except for UC Santa Barbara. Actually, they were in the tournament. A lot of people had them winning. But anyway, but again, they had a 45-game winning streak. You know what I'm saying? They went into Arkansas in 91 to beat that great Todd Day, Lee Marbury, Oliver Miller, Coach Nolan Richardson team. You know what I'm saying? So they took care of their business. You know what I mean? So I don't want to hear all this stuff about, you're talking about 2 different eras. No, these kids now. Hold on, let me go back. Look at Baylor. Baylor that won the championship not too long ago when they beat Gonzaga. They manned up through the Big 12 tournament and then the NCAA tournament. They remind me of those throwback teams. Those 3 teams I just named are my greatest teams of all time in terms from 1 through, let's say, 20 in terms of teams that I've ever seen play. They're in my top 10 for sure. You know what I'm saying? So those teams I just named, 91, well, matter of fact, I could say 90 and 91 UNLV. I could say the 92 Duke team, and, of course, the 1996 Kentucky Wildcats team. And then don't forget Rick Pitino while we're on that, because I don't want to keep going around. But then he also won a national championship with Louisville, too. I believe he won the championship. I believe that was 2013. So this guy's going to bring a lot of excitement to St. John's. You see how I went through all that? So anyway, but seriously, I want to thank all y'all for supporting my show. Check me out on Anchor. I got my own sports podcast show. I mix it up a little bit. Of course, Podbean. Please support that show. Old school wrestling. All you wrestling fans, support that show. Podbean. I do nothing but pro wrestling on there. Old school pro wrestling. Even a little bit of new school. Give a lot of news and notes. You know what I'm saying? I am going to talk, like I say, more NBA, NFL, even Major League Baseball later on in this month. But I just want to make sure I just get in here and just speak my sports, speak my piece, and get ready for the next one. But like I said, very excited for the Sweet 16. Actually, 3 of my teams that I picked to get to the Final Four are still in it. I got 1 team that I picked to win it. I'm going to put it out there right now. I picked Gonzaga to win it, but unfortunately, I had them beat Marquette. Yes, I'm sorry, Houston Cougar fans. I'm sorry, Alabama Crimson Tide fans. I'm sorry I didn't have, but they got the second chance tournament, and I did that. So I'm not worried about nothing. But my main bracket, I got Gonzaga winning the whole thing. So I got 3 teams in it. Arizona, I had them in the Elite 8. Marquette had them in my national championship game. Like I say, losing to Gonzaga. So that bracket is busted all the way. Kansas, I didn't have Kansas going no further, I believe, into the Sweet 16. I want to say, right? Let me see, Sweet 16. Yeah, I believe I had them going to the Sweet 16. Duke, I had them going to the Elite 8, losing to Marquette. I had Arizona in the Elite 8. So other than that, my bracket is still alive. Women's college basketball. Got to give a thumbs up to Virginia Tech and South Carolina. They advanced to the Sweet 16. Unfortunately for Stanford, they lost last night to Mississippi Ole Miss. I believe the score was 54-49. They lost. That's unfortunate. That's all bad. Then, of course, Indiana just lost tonight. They lost to Miami. So that's all bad, too. They're both number 1 seeds. I actually had South Carolina. I went and picked South Carolina instead of going for the field against South Carolina. So I had South Carolina. I believe I had them I want to say I had them beating Indiana, actually. But I believe I had – hold on. It was South Carolina, Stanford, Connecticut, and Indiana to make it to my Final Four in women's. But anyhow – it didn't work out like that. But hey, South Carolina's still alive. I got them winning. But anyhow, I've been doing a lot of tweeting on, Twitter. I've been tweeting. So definitely, I've been tweeting all kinds of NFL news, free agency, you know what I'm saying? Because it's the biggest time of the year with free agency, with the NFL. So I've been doing a little bit of that, a little bit of NBA, but definitely a lot of March Madness, college basketball, men's and women's. Oh, and then, of course, give a shout out to Rick Pitino. Give a shout out to Ed Cooley. He's definitely going to take over for Georgetown Hoyas. He'll leave Providence. But, hey, James Vaughn 007, I'm out. Catch you next time. Peace.